I'd like to welcome now John Rhino Edwards. Hey, welcome.
Whoopee, hello. Nice to be here.
You've got...
In fact, it's nice to be anywhere at my age.
You're best known as Status Quo bassman, but we're here to talk about RHINO'S Revenge.
Two. That difficult second album.
You've taken a bloody long time making it.
15 years, yeah. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but two reasons being I wanted to write something that was better than the first one, or at least a logical progression from it. And it took, when I write a song, I put in a lot of time. I mean, I don't put in a year to each song because that's what it would have been. But in between quote commitments and family commitments, of course. So writing the material was the main thing. But the other thing was I really wanted to do the album predominantly with my sons, Max and Freddie, because we've actually had a knockabout band for years, and I love the way they play. They're very cheap, and no, I really wanted to make something with them, and I wanted to involve my family, so my daughter's doing the backing vocals as well. And we went away to do it in, again, you'd have to edit this. The other reason being that I had to do it when they were available. My son Max, the drummer, is a philosopher, and he's got research fellowships all over the world, and he gave me 2 weeks of his time before he went back he was in Berlin then. And my other son Freddie, who also plays with Status Quo when we do our acoustic stuff, is becoming a very busy guitar player. You know, he's got a lot on, so they kindly set aside 2 weeks of their time to do our album, and it was a fantastic experience. I can't tell you, it was so amazing.
You did it in 13 days, the recording.
Yeah, and because of the event, you know, we did it really the old-fashioned way. We actually played it live. Which, you know, very few people do now. I mean, it's very rare, and if they do, there's a lot of technology. I mean, there's bands now that when they're playing the basis of the song, they will have paper cymbals, so that when they hit the cymbals, it doesn't make any noise. And then afterwards, they'll go back and overdub the cymbals because the sound is everything. Well, I think the performance is everything. Call me old-fashioned, but you know, you got it. I like it live. You know, that's why I'm in Quo. We're best when we're live.
You say you don't. You have to be in the right. You said, I read that you have to be in the right mode to write. You can't write on tour, and.
I did actually write one of the songs on tour because I had to, because we had about 3 days. But it was pretty much formed. But I actually took my little bit of recording equipment out and did it. No, I've got a room at home which is probably 4 meters by 4 meters, and it's got a 12 foot by 12 foot about. Yeah, and. I get a drum kit in there, and all my son's band's practicing now. I've soundproofed it, and it's not the nicest looking room you've ever been in. And I've got a wall which looks exactly like the wall I'm looking at now, which, for the benefit of those of you in black and white, is a sort of beigey yellow kind of nondescript thing. And my wife is always saying to me, "Look, why don't you decorate? It looks horrible." I said, "Because I'm in there to lose myself. I just look at this horrible coloured wall, and just, you know, let my brain bleed." And sometimes it takes time, most of the time it takes time. It's just you need a bit of inspiration sometimes, you know. I mean, I could tell you, I could bore the pants off you, but I could tell you about all the, you know, there's inspiration for every song on my album, you know. I'm not going to sit down and write, "I love you, baby, yeah, the moon's in June," you know.
Well, it's certainly not that.
No, but I mean, if I write a love song, I write a love song on my first album, and the chorus is, and she drinks like smokes like a chimney and drinks like a fish. She swears like a trooper as well. And we argue and fight all the day and the night, and sometimes she puts me through hell. But I like it that way, and I'm happy to say she's mine, all mine. It's about my wife. And it's, you know, it's really affectionate, bizarrely. It doesn't sound it. But no, it's got to mean something.
Oh, all right, explain this one. I was going to play in the middle here, Secretary, from the new album.
Good.
That's a bit of fun, that one.
Yeah, well, just watch the film.
Oh, I haven't seen the film.
Oh,
is it the old film?
Are you together?
Yes.
Are you not? Watch the film together.
Is that the James Spade film?
Yes.
Yeah.
You'll see that. You'll understand exactly.
Exactly. Now, when I listened to the song, I thought, "Hang on, this reminds me of a James Spade film from the 90s," and it is.
Just watch the film. Say no more.
That Secretary from RHINO'S Revenge from the second album, which is out now, and that just sounded. It's just a great bit of fun, that song.
Oh, it is. You know, I mean, it's.
There's everything.
It's you know, a lot of my stuff will sound incredibly sexist, I suspect, to the but it's not really. You know, my tongue is firmly in my cheek. You know, and I mean, if anybody wants to, there's another track, "All the Girls Love a Bastard," and that's again, you know, if you take it the wrong way, then you got no you're humorless and probably gay.
You said we touched on it earlier. It is a family band. Now that can work very well. Can work better, but obviously it sounds like it works fabulous being a family band.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, it could have been like the Partridge Family or the Addams Family for that to that level as well. But no, it worked really well. I've got a great relationship with my kids. We like the same rubbish football team. Which is, you know, and my daughter as well. It's a great bonding thing between the four of us. My wife hates football; she's allergic to it.
Which team is it?
Brentford.
Okay. But
we're all big Brentford supporters, and that's a nice thing. But I've always got on great with my kids. I like to think, but especially my sons, because we've had a band together, and we actually toured RHINO'S REVENGE 2 for a month earlier this year in March. And again, Max was available then, so it was myself, Max, Freddie, and their best mate, young Matthew, who on the album plays the trumpet and a little bit of stunt bass that I can't play because I wasn't good enough, and he does some backing vocals as well. So there's basically 5 people involved in the album.
You're touring the album in February, doing a lot of British dates, some European dates as well. What can I expect? Is it best of both albums, bit of covers?
I like to play 1 or 2 Quo songs in our set, apart from the fact I'm in Status Quo, and obviously a lot of Quo fans come to see us. The Quo songs I play are songs that I didn't play on because some of the songs of Quo I really liked growing up. I loved Paper Plane. Mm-hmm. For me, that was always the best Quo early song. You know, I mean, I used to go and watch Quo in 1970. I thought they were all right, you know. No, I did.
They've got better since.
Well, since 1986, yeah. Of course they have. No, but I saw them in my local club. They were supported by Thin Lizzy, but they were just so. It was a golden era, if you will, for classic rock bands. I mean, you know, every week I could see Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Mott the Hoople, Uriah Heep, Thin Lizzy, Quo. They were just another band coming through. You know, that every week I'd go and see 1 or 2. Free is my band. That's why I'm here today. I heard a track by Free, and I thought, well, that's really good. And they were playing at Richmond Athletic Ground. I think it was early 1970 or late 69. And I went in there, and as a guitar player, and I came out of there a bass player. I just saw Andy Fraser playing. After about 15 minutes, I thought, epiphany, boing, that's what I want to do. And I went out and borrowed a bass, went for an audition with a band called Maniac Mouse, and I got the job. So I figured this must be right. And then a few weeks later, I asked them why I'd got the job, and I was the only one that had turned up. But it was meant to be, you know.
Do you feel, as you say, you put some Quo songs in the set? Do you think that's expected of you, or do you just think that's what you want to do? If people come along, they expect you to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I do a couple of the Quo songs I've written because I want to, because I really, you know, I mean, I like a lot of the stuff I write. Funnily enough, in fact, I like it a lot.
Good.
Yeah, no, I suppose you know, I'm playing to a reasonable amount of Quo fans. I mean, I'd like to sort of I'd like to spread the word a bit more, if you like, you know, because I do think that it's not
a Quo sound. If you listen to it, it's not a Quo record.
No,
it's a lot harder, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and I mean, if I do another one, I think I worked it out. I'll be 78 when I do it if it goes on like this. But no, I mean, I do veer towards the rock side of things. I mean, I love bands like Rammstein, you know, the real Teutonic rock. No, I do. You know, I mean, I'm really into a lot of metal.
Yeah.
And I'm basically into rock music, full stop, rock and blues, you know. And then, I suppose for me, the other side, I go to the Beatles. Frank Zappa, I'm a huge fan of his. Steely Dan. I like the music side of it, you know, the technical side of it as well. But mainly, I like to rock, which is why I love being in Status Quo. It's perfect for me. I only ever wanted to be in an insular rock band where we had. It's not so much now because we're mellowing, but it was very much us against the world. I mean, you know how much the band was hated by the press. I mean, bring it on. No, bring it on. That's fine for me because you go to every gig you do and you look at, are you coming tonight? Yeah. Well, you go there, you look at those people there, they're going to leave there with a smile on their face, having a really good time. Job done.
It'll be the 5th time tonight I've seen you, so
Well, you know
you
what,
keep coming back for more.
Yeah, you know what to expect then.
When you go out the road with the Revenge next year, you've got 9 Below Zero out with you as well, and Eddie and the Hot Rods on Sunday. Cracking nights.
Well, I mean, we've had we had Eddie and the Hot Rods opening for us on a tour about 3 years ago, and 9 Below Zero we've worked with a few times, and I know Dennis quite well. In fact, I turned him down for one of my bands years ago, which he never stops reminding me about when I see him. But no, it's great, and I mean, I suppose back in the day when they were, bigger than I am at the moment, it's quite a weird thing to think that they're opening for me now.
It's just be a great night, the whole lineup.
Well, that's the plan,
So it's not going to be 15 years for the next album?
No, I mean, with people like you spreading the word, I'm hoping that that it's not worth my while. That's not. I mean, put it like this: I'm never going to make back the money I've spent on this. But the whole thing's been worth it for the 2 weeks I had with my kids. It was 2 of the best weeks of my life. Just such a bond. And Max, again, Freddie doesn't talk much. He doesn't need to. He's just so amazing. Freddie, we need some real funny old noises on here. What that? Yeah, all right, yeah. That's perfect. Right, okay, But Max said, he'd always ask me, and he'd say, "Is this any good, Dad? Do you like that drum fill?" And the engineer said, "I never thought I'd hear a drummer asking his dad if the drum fill was right." But yeah,
It sounds like you're having great fun. You got to. Oh, you got rushed.
No, I've got 20 minutes.
It's funny. Just before we started, we spoke about you playing on a French disco hit from Space and Magic Fly. But also looking down the CV, you were in Dexys Midnight Runners for a while.
Oh yeah, I've worn many outfits. I think I can safely say I was with Kim Wilde as well after Dexys, and after the various. I remember wearing.
Kevin wasn't in his weird phase then, was he?
No, we were just coming out of 2 RHINO'S and going into the Don't Stand Me Down, which was the album which the critics said, one critic said you could get all the fans of this album in the phone box. It's since in the top 100 greatest British albums ever.
Yeah. But it was such a difference because I suppose he had the Dockers look first, and then you had the two.
It was always about the image with Kevin. That's what I was going to say. I went to Top of the Pops one day, and the new image was going to be the Ivy League stuff, and I went in with a pair of brogues that I just bought. And he, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I've got to wear them in." He said, "That's the new image. You can't. You've got to take them off. Take them off. Go and buy some plimsolls or something. You can't wear them. They were so protective." But bizarrely, he nicked the whole thing off someone else.
Yeah.
You know that, don't you?
No.
Oh yeah, he nicked. No, it's common knowledge. I'm not saying anything you're going to get sued for. Not the whole thing, but the 2 RHINO'S and all that was very much to do with Al Archer, who was in Dexys, and he had the original idea. Well, I won't say that Kevin nicked it. I would say that. So edit point. I think Kevin Rowlands was possibly heavily influenced by Al Archer's plan. And if you Google Al Archer, you'll see the look and everything and their songs.
Yeah. You go from.
Sorry, I have to say Kevin did refine it to a hell of an extent. Yeah. But then Kim Wilde. Should I wait for you to ask me questions? Kim Wilde. It's funny. I've had some very odd things happen in my life. I did a single, and the band I was with a girl called Judy Zook, and we were signed to Rocket Records, and I'd arranged a meeting because I'd done this song that I really wanted to see if I could get a deal on, and cassettes in those days, and I went on the Tube. I was running for the Tube, and I realised I'd left the cassette at home, and as I ran back to the flat, and as I went in, the phone was ringing, and it was a guy called Steve Torch, who I'd been doing some sessions for. He said, "Hello, John." He said, "I've just been asked to join Dexys Midnight Runners," but I said, "I'm not good enough, but I know someone that is." It wasn't me, but no. And then he said, "So phone him up there at the studio now." And I went down, had a little play, tuned up with harmonics, which for all you bass players out there, you'll know what I mean. And they were so amazed that anybody had that kind of technical expertise in that band I was in, But Kim Wilde, I bought an answer phone. I went out, I came up, the first message on my answer phone ever was from the guitar player, who I didn't know at the time, who'd got my number from someone else saying Kim Wilde was looking for a bass player. And if you were to Google me doing Rage to Love, you'd see for Kim Wilde, I dyed my hair jet black. I looked dead. I looked like a really ill version of Keith Richards.
And in between Dexys and before Quo...
That was Kim Wilde and Peter Green.
And you got Climax Blues Band in there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was a cracking band.
Yeah. It was great. You know, I've been fortunate isn't the right word. I really don't think so, because there's always a even from Quo, you know, there's loads of large, bloody hell. There are large tranches of luck involved everywhere, you know, all along the way, even now, you know, and but I'm a firm believer that you make your own luck, and people would say I've been lucky. I mean, and I've had some good coincidences, but I've had a great run at this. I mean, it's all I ever wanted to do, and you know, I don't know what I'd probably be, to be honest, I'd probably be in prison if I wasn't doing this, or dead, you know. I mean, I'm in all seriousness, you know, I went to a school for maladjusted boys, shall we say, and I was always a big problem child, and you know, I used to drive my parents to distraction, but all I ever wanted to do was music. And my violin teacher, Mrs. Shipton, we didn't have a phone, we were really not very well off, and when I started playing violin at school when I was 7, and she walked round to my house one day and just knocked on the door and said to my mum, "I've got to teach your son. You've got to find the money to pay for private lessons. He's amazing."
And that's it.
And that's how my music started. But it's all I've ever wanted to do. And
it's great to make a living out what you really love.
Hey, I went out in Blackpool the other day, and it's all by degrees, but I think I've got my feet quite firmly on the ground. And I went into a shopping arcade there, and I looked at a lot of the people there, and I just thought, you could only dream of the lifestyle I've got. You know, I don't know. I mean, I hope they're all happy anyway. You know, being happy, what it's all about. But I just thought, you know, and for me going to you could really only dream. And I'm not being big-headed or anything. I'm not being. No, I've done exactly the same. I'm not looking down on people. I'm just, you know, it's like I am lucky. You know, and like anyone else, I moan, but you just do things like that. You think, what have I got to moan about? You know, and the answer is nothing.
John, it's been great to talk to you. We're going to wrap up by playing Black Widow, the focus track from the. Because you don't really call them singles anymore, do they? It's focus tracks. Focus tracks. Tell us about that one.
Well, for a start, it's got the most prophetic line prophetic line I've ever written in a song, I think, because one of the lines says, "What's over there is coming over here," and you know, given recent events in Paris and all that, I mean, I don't think I'm wrong, but you got 2 minutes?
Yeah.
I'm okay. We got stuck in Moscow do you remember there was the ash cloud a few years ago? I think 2009, yeah, and we were stuck in Moscow, which was not my favourite place. I really don't like it there at all. But I was walking across Red Square.
As you do.
Yeah. And I heard a voice say, "Hello, Mr. Edwards." It was actually a Scottish voice. I said, "Hello, mate, all right, you know." And he said, "I live here. I was coming to see you next week." And we just got talking, and I explained what had happened. We actually just went for a coffee with this but lovely guy. And he said, "Well, if you want, I'll sort of take you round. If you're going to be here for a few days, you know, if you want to see what Moscow's really like," because he really liked it. And I said, that'd be absolutely brilliant. So he took me and Andrew around Moscow. But I went out with him one time. We went down the metro, and we got down the metro, and there was a shrine there with some candles. I said, "What's that?" He said, "Oh, that's where the Chechen suicide bombers blew them up about 3 months ago, and they call them the Black Widows." And I just thought, I'll keep that. And then I was watching all the trouble in Ukraine when they were shooting all their own people and all that. And they're just the two things, you know, the whole Eastern European thing, it really came into one, really. And that song, the lyrics didn't take very long at all. The music took a long while on that one. I mean, you know, it was quite short for me. I suppose it's probably 4 or 5 days total work in that song, you know. And I mean, 8 or 10 hours a day. I mean, you know, as David Byrne once said from Talking Heads, it's such a great line. He said, people don't want to think that you might have spent 3 weeks working on a lyric. They want to think that you wrote it on the back of a napkin in a nightclub. You know, and when people do that, it's normally rubbish. Oh, occasionally, you know, you get a great song that people knock out. I mean, I love The Passenger, you know, Iggy Pop. He wrote that as he went along. The whole thing is just a jam. Yeah. You know, and that's great. I mean, occasionally like that, but you know, people who think people like the Sex Pistols didn't really work on their lyrics, you know. I mean, he's one of my favourite lyricists, John Lydon. I think he's a real modern poet. I think he's a bit of a knob, but...
It's an act.
Yeah, I think once you start letting him rant.
I've spent 3 days in an office with him.
Well, I think
in the first hour it's like that, but then
I think
you get into it.
And I also think that he doesn't. I think some of the time he doesn't actually know what he's talking about. You know, I think he's making it up as he goes along, and he's not actually that good at making it up as he goes along. But when he's got something to say and he's thought about it, it's quality. I'm a huge fan.
John,
anyway, my song Black Widows rocks like a.
Say it.
Huh?
Go on, say it.
Rocks like a bitch. No, I mean, it does. It kicks ass, you know. I mean, it was, again, playing it, you know, looking around, looking at my kids playing, you know, and it was just amazing. And I love the lyrics. I mean, I don't want to be a doom merchant, but the last track on the album, and considering in this light-hearted comedy vein, it's called Take 'Em Down, and that's all about the Kurdish fighters defending Kobani against Islamic State. And they're brilliant lyrics. Harumph.
We'll whack that one as well. Thanks for your time, John.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.